Where are you feeling them mostly?
Here. Oh, you can do this.
Look at this face.
I think you love the camera. Big bubbles. Hey, you're a beautiful boy.
Do you want to do the intro, baby, or do you want me to do the intro? A beauty? A little... I love you. You're looking really handsome today. Yeah. So here's the story you've been waiting for. I know you guys are really excited to meet my beautiful baby boy. This is Alonzo, and he is 11 weeks old. I think we're ready to share the story of your birth. If you guys want to hear more about how I gave birth to my little bean, then just keep watching. Okay, so I'm in my beauty room or my media room, and I'm gonna film this story for you guys here because we ended up playing, he ended up eating, and then like my whole day went by. I've been hesitant about telling you guys this story, but if you've been following my channel, you know I talked about my pregnancy a lot, so I really owe it to you guys to tell you how my birth went. It's a little bit of backstory. I wanted a natural birth. If you guys watch any of my videos, you probably saw I talked about wanting a home birth, and that's kind of different because not a lot of people do birth outside of the hospital. I wanted to do it at home because I knew it would be more comfortable for me, and I knew I could have like a birth pool in my living room. I could be in the water, I could go in my own bed, and everything would be kind of on my terms versus being in the hospital. So I'm at 38 weeks, I've had a healthy pregnancy, my baby is healthy, and we're getting excited about the home birth thing, but my midwives are also cautious, making sure that I actually get to have the birth at home, because if I go overtime, going past 40 weeks would mean that I'd probably have to go to the hospital for an induction. They start giving me these natural induction methods, so they tell me to walk a lot. They're also giving me stretch and sweeps. Now, stretch and sweeps are basically where they put their fingers inside of you and they massage the cervix area, which basically means that the cervix is going to start to move down where it needs to go and then dilate, which is open up. And since your cervix is naturally facing the side of your body, there's a whole process that needs to happen before your baby can even like start to come out. So I started to get these stretch and sweeps. They're hella painful and I really didn't like getting them done, but I figured that something was definitely going to happen because I got cramps every time I got them done. November 2nd at 4 a.m. I wake up, I have like all of this water coming out of my vagina and I'm like, what is going on? I think this is my water breaking, but I didn't know much about like labor. So I figured, how do I not have contractions and my water is breaking? Because in the movies, they always show women like in serious pain and then their water breaks and they like rush to the hospital. So I get on Google, I call my midwife and I get to the conclusion my water is definitely breaking. But since nothing's happening, my midwife is like, just stay home, go back to sleep because you're gonna need lots of energy. You're gonna be giving birth to your baby within like the next 24 hours, no matter what. I'm like so excited about it. Alex is so excited, but we definitely decided it would be best to get some sleep because it could be a long day. So I wake up and like I plan to get my hair done because I was like, I really want my hair to look good for this and I have nothing to do today and I'm basically gonna have a baby in a little bit, so like why not get my hair done? I'm still leaking as much water as I was, and every single time I would shift or move my body, then I would get a little bit more leakage. I was like sitting in the chair and I was like, oh, do you mind if I go to the bathroom? And like after the second time, I'm like, oh, by the way, like my water's breaking, just so you know, like that's why I keep going to the bathroom. The hairstylist is like, your water is breaking? And I'm like, yeah, but I have time, so just keep doing my hair. She finished up and she was like so freaked out the whole time. She was like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. My midwives keep calling me and they're like, what's going on? Like, do you have contractions yet? How are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm feeling fine. Like I just went and did some shopping, got my hair done. They're like, okay, so you're definitely not in labor. And they're like, okay, well, things should be moving along, so why don't you come into the office? With less and less amniotic fluid in my belly, they want to make sure that the baby's getting enough oxygen, so they start monitoring the heartbeat as well as my contractions, which are like non-existent. And they're looking for a specific pattern, so they want the heartbeat to go up and down like in a specific way that would indicate that the baby's healthy and getting enough oxygen. So 20 minutes goes by, they do that test, they're waiting for the heartbeat to do everything that they wanted it to do, and we don't get that result. We don't get the healthy heartbeat that we're looking for. They're getting something close to what they're looking for, but it's not exactly what they want. And it kind of got a little bit more concerning, and I didn't want to go to the hospital. That just kept coming through my mind. I'm like, don't turn this into a big production where I gotta go to the hospital and get like a C-section, because I don't feel like I need it. I feel like my baby's perfectly healthy. give me the full 24 hours that I need to start labor. So we came to the conclusion that I should probably go to an ultrasound and see what's going on with the baby, just make sure everything's perfectly fine. So I go down the street and I get this ultrasound, and the technician won't tell me what's going on. He's going all over my belly, and I'm like, does the baby look okay? And he's like, I can't discuss this with you. Your midwife will give you the result. Of course, that makes you like a little bit more nervous. That's literally just a rule that they have, but I was kind of just like, can't you just tell me everything's fine? Because I'm kind of like stressed out at this point. So I finished with that ultrasound, and I have to go into the waiting room and wait for my midwife to call me. So she calls me and she's like, so we just got the results from your ultrasound. Your amniotic fluid is really low, and while that's not like an immediate emergency, it is quite low. It's in like the lower percentile. So I felt like everything was fine, but I walked out of there with like tears coming down my face because I didn't know what to do. I had no plans to go to the hospital, but now it's looking like maybe I'll have to. I basically told the midwife, I'll call you back and I'll tell you what I decide to do, whether I'm gonna do my home birth like I planned, or I'm gonna just head to the hospital and have an induction like right now. I just wanted everything to be fine. So when I got in the car, I started to panic, and I was like, I feel like everybody wants me to go to the hospital, and I feel like everybody will expect me to, and I'll be like a bad person if I don't just choose to do that. But like, this is my decision. I was just in this stressful moment of like, I don't know what to do, and I wanted to do the best thing for my baby, and I still felt like that was home birth. I tell Alex, I think I want to go to the hospital. I think I want to have an induction. So we call my midwife and we're like, we're going to go to the hospital. She's like, good choice. I'll see you there in an hour. We had an hour to pack our bags. I had nothing packed. I had no plan B, so I had nothing prepared in a bag. I didn't even know what it would look like to bring things to a hospital, because when you're at home, you have everything you need. I have all of my stuff sitting on the counter. It's all packed, and I'm kind of just doing that thing where I'm like, okay, do I need anything else? And right as I'm doing that, I literally get the most painful thing happening in my stomach. It's like a regular period cramp, but it's amplified like ×5, which is really intense because I get intense period cramps as it is. So I like literally have to bend over and grab the couch, and I'm like in so much pain. Labor just started. Like, that's definitely labor. I think that this was just one of those signs that you're on the right path. You're making the right decision by going to the hospital. So when I get to the hospital, I get into my room and I'm like, this is awesome. There's like one of those beds you see women typically giving birth in. There's like a little couch, there's like a recliner chair, there's like a bathroom, and you can like take a giant bath in there. So I figured I could probably use that as like my birth pool, because I thought that would help with the pain, because that's what I've been told. So my midwife's like, okay, since you're in labor naturally, we don't actually have to do an induction. Why don't we like try to pump things up a little bit? So she gives me these little suction cups, which are for nursing moms who are trying to like pump milk out. For this purpose, it's used to induce labor because it releases oxytocin, which is for labor.
And what we basically try to do with it is that, in theory, if we try to get like enough of it going in your body, that it will eventually kind of just like bump you over to that like point where you're in active labor. Okay.
And it worked a little too well. It was actually so painful I had to take it off. Made my contractions go from like this to like this. I think I'm about an hour and a half in, and I've got contractions that are pretty intense. I think we're at the point here where I can't stand. I'm bending over every single time that I have a contraction. I have to go pee, so I run to the bathroom, a contraction starts, and I fall onto the floor. I've already called my doula at this point, and she's come and she's helping me. She's massaging my back and basically doing anything that I need to make me feel a little bit more comfortable. Honestly, the emotional support from her was awesome, but when you're having those painful contractions, it's almost like there's nothing anybody can do to help you, because you are the one in pain and they can't take it away from you. And I really wanted somebody to take the pain away because it started to get tiring. I've been awake now for like 12, 13 hours, and I'm in a lot of pain, and I've got a long road ahead of me. So I'm already talking to my midwife. I'm like, okay, things are starting to heat up here. Why don't we start, wrapping this thing up and start pushing the baby out? She's like, no, you're not in active labor. I'm like, I'm not in active labor. I think I'm in, and then I like hunch over and I'm in so much pain again. We resume conversation once the contraction's over and I'm like, I think I'm in active labor. I think things are, you know, really picked up since I got here. So like I said, why don't we just start to wrap things up? Well, let me check you. Let's see what's going on here. In labor, you have to get to 10 centimeters dilated in order to give birth. She checks me. Basically, she sees how far I am dilated. I'm not even dilated 5 centimeters. I'm like 2 centimeters. And she's like, yep, so you've got 8 more centimeters to go. And that could take anywhere from like 12 hours to like 24 hours. And she's like, so, you know, don't even think about how long it's gonna take you. Just try to ride each wave and just, you know, be in the moment. Okay, we gotta think of a long-term plan here to kind of like condense things, because like this isn't gonna work for me if it's just gonna get worse and worse. My doula is still there massaging me. They're like, why don't you get in the pool? You know, you wanted to get in the pool. I think you're like about 4 centimeters now. Why don't you get in the water and see if that helps? I think people overemphasized a little bit. Maybe it's just my experience, but I think people kind of made the pool and the water thing seem a little bit more helpful than they actually are. I'm feeling like a little defeated at this point. I'm like 5 hours in, I'm in the water, people are like pouring water on me. I felt bad because this whole time I was like, yeah, I can do it with no medication, like no problem, it doesn't scare me, I'm not scared of birth. Now I'm like, I'm a little scared of birth. I need to figure something out. And now I start repeating to everybody in the room, I'm like, I can't do this. So everybody's like, oh yeah, like you can do this, like you're strong, you're doing so well. And I'm like, no, like let's cut the whole Zen thing. I'm gonna need you to like start rolling out the options here. She goes, Allie, I know you really wanted a natural birth and I really want to support you in that. And I know that you might be a little disappointed if you just decide to get one now. She said, why don't you get on the table? I'll check you. We'll see how far along you are. She checks me. Get back on the bed, have a couple more contractions, completely debilitating. I feel like I'm gonna die. And then she's like, oh, well, look, you're actually so close. And I'm thinking like, oh, what am I, like 9 centimeters? And she's like, you're so close, you're at 6 centimeters. You're telling me I'm halfway through this, like, and it's only gonna get more intense because I'm not even in active labor yet. So she looks at me and she's like, you can have an epidural if you want it. If you feel like you need it, then that's what you need to do. So within 10 minutes, there's an anesthesiologist who comes in, and this is the first person who's from the hospital that's come into my room. The awesome thing about having midwives was like literally no one from the hospital except that anesthesiologist had to come into my birth room. So he comes in and he tells me all about the epidural, what I'm gonna need to do, and I can be paralyzed if I move while I'm getting it. So he tells me to hunch over, hold on to Alex, and Alex is like supporting me really firm because, like I said, if I move, things can go wrong. This guy did the epidural, and within 10 minutes, I'm telling you, I felt so good. I was crying. I was like bawling my eyes out at the amount of pain relief that I had. It was just so awesome to be at the hospital and have the help that I needed. Hours go by, people are giving me water. My doula is still there. She's sleeping, Alex is sleeping, I'm sleeping. It was just like this big, long, relaxing time until my baby was here. It's maybe 5 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock, and my contractions are starting to get more and more intense, and they're noticing that I'm closer and closer to giving birth. At about 9 o'clock, I can feel my baby like move all the way down, and I can just feel this intense pressure. So as I'm pushing, I'm having like the greatest time. They're like, do you want to see what's happening? Like, we'll put a mirror in front of you. So they put this big like standing mirror in front of me, and I could just watch the baby coming out. And they pulled out my baby, and then they just let me hold my baby, and it was so awesome. Like, I was so happy, and like, oh, it was like so amazing. This little warm baby and like his little heartbeat, and then he starts crying. And they lifted him up off my chest, and then they brought him over to this bed where they put him on and started cleaning him up. And then they figured out it was a boy, and they're like, it's a boy. So I had so much fun pushing him out. He was born at 7 pounds, 2 ounces, I think about 23 inches long. And his name was not decided until a couple days later. So we named him Alonzo, and I love his name so much. We were just like in paradise for so many weeks after he was born. So I hope you guys liked my birth story. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. I wanted to make sure you're okay with filming with me because I know this is a personal story. Alonzo, I know this is a personal story. People want to hear about it. I just want to make sure you're okay with filming this. Alonzo, I know this is a personal story. I just want to make sure you're okay with filming this with me because I want this to be good for you too. I want this to be fun for you too. Is that going to be fun? It sounds like you might have a bit of a fun time, Mr. Baby Boy. Okay, you want to walk on set? I love you. I love you. I love you, my googie. I love you.